Let's review this game. The game starts with d4, d5, bishop f4, and so here black played bishop d7. Excuse me. So, well, I don't think d7 is it's a very good square for the bishop. I mean, if I would play as black, I would make the bishop stay at c8, because even though we move bishop to d7, I mean, the bishop is still like quite stuck behind the e6 pawn. So we should push the c pawn or offer a bishop trade with the f4 bishop, because this bishop is really strong and the bishop d7 doesn't give us anything, and it also, I mean, block our queen. So bishop d7, I think that's a slow down the piece development. We should push the c pawn. And so bishop d7 and bishop d3, so c5 is good, c3, so white support the center, knight c6, knight b2. Okay, so I think after knight b2 we need to think about, if black play queen b6, how can we deal with this pawn, with this b2 pawn? The problem is, if we move queen to c2 and c4, we cannot move bishop at c2. We have to retreat bishop to e2, which is less good as c2, because bishop at c2 it can aim at the h7, but if the bishop at e2, its space is quite limited. And if queen to b3, I think that's the same problem. After c4, take bishop to c2, for example. Black has semi-open file to attack the white pawn, and black is slightly better. So the thing is, I think white can hold on a bit of this knight movement. Maybe we can focus on the king side. For example, can we push the pawn to attack the black king, or h4, or even castle him. So yeah, bishop e7. So if we have the bishop at c8, we can put the bishop at d6 to offer exchange, right? So yeah, so here we can feel the bishop at f4 is controlling all dark squares, and we cannot even make exchange. Or maybe knight h5 something we can consider to exchange with the bishop, and then we can move the queen, move the bishop towards the queen side. Bishop e7, queen e2, c4, and rook c8. The c file is quite closed. The c file is quite close, and if black will attack the queen side, I think a promising solution is b4 and b5 and b4, and I think the b file should be the focus. I understand that it's not good timing to move rook to ba, but we can move, for example, knight h6, h5, as I said, to trade with the dark square bishop, and then we can move the rook to ba and then b5, b4. So rook c8 doesn't bring any much value, in my opinion. So e4, white starts to attack the center. And yeah, I'm thinking queen b6 is also still something we can consider. Attack b2. So take. I don't think we have to exchange with the e4 pawn. And when we exchange, the c4 pawn become a weakness. And even though we have center square, we also give a center square for the knight. So, and also knight e6. How can we deal with this dark square bishop? This dark square bishop is so strong, and it's very hard for us to kick it away, and we cannot even castle. So yeah, so when we look at the piece exchange, we need to think very carefully and make a trade-off between either taking the pawn or waiting our opponents to take our pawn. So if queen to b6, we can attack b2, and So if knight to f1, so in this case I think we can take, at least we can exchange, and also we can take the b2, we can win the pawn and the rook. So that's something we can exchange with the pawn. So yes, and bishop to g3, b5, so black's to attack the queen side and then protect the pawn. Knight that's a good move. So we can control this diagonal. Knight e7, block this, and we are going to castle later. But you see, the dark square bishop is really strong. It controls the dark square. And knight e5, moving further, bishop c6, exchange. Yeah, that's the same question for white. Do we have to exchange with the bishop? So it's not good to exchange pieces for the sake of exchanging. I think our knight is at the center, and the bishop is blocked by the knight. So I will, for example, retreat bishop to c5, attack a7, and place the knight at e5. And if we want to exchange with the bishop, we can do that later. And if black castle, we can move the queen. We have this bishop, this knight, and the queen to attack the king side. So the knight is better than the bishop. So I don't think trading is a good option. And another thing I would like to highlight is the time management. So the game starts with 1 hour, but now we have played 15 moves. Yeah, we have 10 seconds per move incremental, but I would say that the time on the clock is so much. So we should spend more time to evaluate the moves. So we need to use the time wisely. Bishop e5. I would say bishop c5 is better than e5 because we can control the square on the queen side. And bishop e5, the bishop will be traded with knight g6. So yes, castle, queen g4. So now white start to attack the black pawn, but I think white overlook or miss the timing that we should castle to make our king safe. And if f6, you have to move your bishop, for example, to g3, and black can keep pushing the pawn and also kick your bishop. So if the queen moves to h5, and black can play b4 to attack the queen side, so the pawn stopping this diagonal. And how can we deal with the c3 pawn? So if you castle, you will lose a pawn. If you take and knight b4, threatening taking the d4 pawn, so black is better. So yeah, I think we should castle to make the king safe first. Knight g6, bishop to g3, and a5. I think we can push in the pawn right away. So if white takes, okay, take c3, take and kick the queen back to, let's say, e2. Okay, then take this one, attack the queen and attack d4, and also we have this f4. Since our opponent is slow in castling, so we need to open up this center as soon as possible. So b4 is quicker than a5. So this is something I would suggest. a5. So yeah, I mean, white have to castle, otherwise your king will be in danger. 5, f4. Now if you move bishop back, you will lose the pawn. And h5. But this is even worse because I think the white king is in real trouble. So if we look at the clock, so white has spent, I mean, less than 10 minutes, and black has spent maybe just 10 minutes, and the game turning to 24, move 24. So I think this is critical timing, critical like position. White king is in f1. It's not safe, and we should spend as much time as possible to calculate the best move. I understand that our king is also under attack, so that's why we need to spend time. So we play h6, so this move looks okay, but it actually slows down our attack. And also, does h6 really works as the best defense? So the best move turned out to be queen g5. We are threatening checking at the c1. So if white takes our pawn, we can move the king to h8. So the king with a pawn in front of it is actually very safe. White has no way to attack the king. And we are threatening queen c1 and also knight d3. And also knight f4 and attack the pawn. So black's winning. So white cannot take the pawn. And if white, for example, I don't see any way white can defend these two squares with one move. Like bishop c, we can still knight e3. And white have to take the knight, black take the knight, take the queen. So I think if black can figure out this move, black's winning, and black has 53 minutes on the clock. I think at least we can find a move better than h6. And the move h6 only took us like 10 seconds. So it's so quick. And queen to d2, yeah, it's a good move to defend the dark square, but I think black is still better if we can see on the evaluation bar. So the thing is, how can we move the rook to reach the king side? So e5, and also we can open up this d file. If white play bishop to e4, we can take, queen takes, and we can play rook d6. So we are aiming at the background. Since the pawn is dark squares, and white doesn't have dark square bishop, so it's really hard for white to take the f2 pawn. And for example, if bishop to, I don't think bishop h4 is something we can consider. There's a discover attack. And if the queen, for example, move to, we can still check. And backward check, we're winning. So, oof. So yeah, so what we play is offer a trade. So, I mean, if we look at the safety of the kings, I think white king is in danger and the black king is quite safe. So in this case, trading the queens only favors white because the white king is in danger. So if we can remain the queens, it's better for black. So it's good for white to take the queen, rook h3, defend e3. This is only move we can defend e3 and e5. And also I think white is going to offer a trade to win the pawn back. So g4 is the best move. And the rook goes to g3. So we have more than one solution to move pieces. So for example, we can play b4. There's something we still can attack this pawn. And if take, we can take, and c3. We can have another pass pawn. So, and white cannot take the pawn because knight e3. Right? b4. e5. The move only took us 30 seconds. And white rook f3 yet. I mean, yeah, I think this maybe bishop e4 is better. We can at least exchange with the knight. And I think we can win the pawn. The thing is, if we take the pawn, rook can take g6. But if we pin the knight, and we take, we can have a tempo. Attack the rook, we can win the pawn. So I think white also took so little time of this move. e5, rook f3, rook f3 only took 9 seconds. Look at the time we have. We have 55, 56 minutes. Knight f4. So now white has solved the problem. So the game turned back to equalize the game. So Yeah, take the pawn. King go upward. We need to activate the king. Knight f4. a4, that's a good move to break the pawn structure. b4. This pawn is losing. In this end game, white has bishop, which is better in open position than the knight, because the bishop control way more squares than the knight. So the rook cannot defend c4 basically. Oh, rook d4. It took us 1 minute. So this is a big thing. So I think black calculated this move, 92. We won the pawn, but actually we lost this one. And the thing is, our knight is at a very bad position. The king, the white king, actually getting closer to the a pawn after the exchange. And knight b3, we make this move in 5 seconds. It's something we just underestimate the bishop, right? And if we don't protect pawn, we are still losing, because if we lose this one, we will lose this one also. So yeah, come back to this position. Rook d4. It looks like we are winning a pawn, or we are saving the pawn, but at least we lost even more stuff. We lose the game after this move. So I think the best move turned out to be knight d3. We attack the b2 as exchange. If you take, we at least take this one, and we can attack this one. Then we have double pawns, or no, connected pawns. We can still get a draw, fight for a draw. And if white takes, yeah, I mean, we turn the game into rook endings, and we have same number of pawns. Even though white has better pawn like structure, black is still able to fight for a draw. But we move the piece so fast. We sacrifice the rook with only 1 minute. Okay, so we don't have to walk through the rest of the game. So I think the learning is spend time as much as possible. This is a game with 1 hour for each player, but we in total spend maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes for the whole game. So yeah, use your time wisely. So that's my suggestion.